Paul's been telling me about the amazing work that's happening, and what really excites me is that how the community is so involved. And I actually asked Paul if I could come to this meeting. I said, I just want to come hear about all the exciting work and see community. And next thing I know, he puts me on the agenda, which I'm fine with, but I did invite myself to see the amazing community work that's going on here. So, and then he says, talk about family first. Well, it's the most monumental piece of funding legislation from the feds in child welfare in 50 years or more. So it's hard to talk about in 10 minutes, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I thank you guys for all being here and being engaged in your community. When I became director in 2016, we were in crisis across the state, and one of the things that we as a team really said from the get-go was we have to work together. Like DCFS cannot serve these families, cannot be fully responsible for all the children in need by ourselves. It's very easy when you get in this line of work to just take it on and take on the world and take on trying to solve everything, and it very quickly becomes overwhelming, and it's not right for kids and it's not right for families. And so we really need the community support, not only for DCFS, but for the families that we serve. Because if we're in it alone, we are not going to make a difference. And Fort Smith is a perfect example of how the community has rallied and worked together and really started seeing changes in children's lives and in their families' lives. So getting into family first. I don't like to talk about family first because I want us to do our work driven on the values in which we should be doing our work every day. And that value is that every child deserves a safe, stable family every day. And when I say family, I mean their biological family, I mean their foster family if they can't safely remain with their family, and I mean their permanent adopted family if they can't safely reunify with their family. And so we have three priorities. Those priorities are safely stabilize and preserve families that we serve. Many people don't realize that across the state we serve more families and children in home than we do in foster care, and that's true here in Sebastian County. Then if kids can't safely be with their families and they have to come into foster care, we're going to safely work to reunify children with families. We all know that there are a few number of exceptions where reunification is not appropriate, but the majority of the kids across the state and in Sebastian County are coming in because of substance abuse and neglect. And many times, those families we can help as a community work together to get them back on the right path. And if we cannot do that, if that is not the best option for that child, because we always want to do what's right for kids, then we're going to look to move those kids to permanency. As I was getting ready for this presentation, looking at some Sebastian-specific data, we're tracking every month the number of kids who are in care 24 months or longer. And from January of 19 till now, there's been a 30 child reduction. I know that may not sound significant to y'all, but that's significant to us. You went from 200 to, it's actually 31, 169 kids in care 24 months or longer. I mean, that is great work because statistics show that once our kids have been in care for 24 months or longer, it is so hard to move them to permanency. So the fact that as a community, and I applaud DCFS for this work, that you're able to look at our toughest population in care and get those kids to permanency. And when I say permanency, I mean a family, right? We want our kids in a family. No child deserves to long-term grow up in an institution. They need those lifelong connections with a family. So that's some amazing work. So talking about values, I gotta get back to Paul and his family first. So family first, it is how we're funded. And so it is important, but again, our work should be driven by the values. So in February of 2018, the feds passed a law called Family First, and we in Arkansas, we were ahead of the game. We were already focused on families and how do we get our kids with families, how do we work on that front end and work on prevention and helping those families. But in 2018, we got a whole lot of requirements, so the values aligned, but now we got to implement the requirements of the law. So we were already headed, really focusing on placement and getting kids with families and figuring out how to fund prevention services. We had from February of 2018 until October 1 of this past year, 2019, to get a lot of things in line to align our funding structure with our values. And so that's meant a lot of things, which means prior to Family First, the feds did not fund prevention and child welfare. Now I heard a women's specialized grant over here, I think, and so the feds funding prevention through a different avenue than child welfare. So there were a few dollars here and there on prevention and substance abuse service that did not flow through the child welfare. But for child welfare, there was not a significant funding stream for prevention alone. We were funded based on kids that were in foster care, which almost, says to a system, if they're in foster care, you have to pay for them. Now, Arkansas had been under what's called a waiver back till 2012, and we're able to use a few dollars to fund some prevention, but in the state, as child welfare, we had very limited dollars coming through Children and Family Services to fund prevention. So we've had the ability to go out with some new contract and evidence-based services. One of those that has affected your area is Safe Care, a home visiting program. We put that in place and started in the summer of 16. I think is when we started procuring it, and then it went live the summer of 17. It just came to your area because with any new program in a rural state, it's hard for our providers and partners to hire, train, and staff a program. But Safe Care is in your area, and it is specifically targeted towards families that have some type of maltreatment or neglect. They're in the home. They're helping those families refer to services. They're doing hands-on parenting skills. They're looking at safe sleep if there's a baby. So just a really exciting home visiting prevention program targeted towards our population. We procured a contract on the east side of the state for intensive in-home services, which will also have a plan for statewide expansion as we grow over the next future years, and we'll come to your area as well. And then there's always other procurement opportunities in the prevention arena. So if you're a provider and looking for prevention, you please check out our website and look, because we're always looking at how do we procure and serve with evidence-based prevention programs. But it's not just us alone. Like, we got to partner with the substance abuse grants, and we've got to partner with the other funding streams that allow us to serve families, because in the end, DCFS really is a connector for families. Like, we don't have all the answers, and we don't have all the services, and we don't have all the money in the world, and so we really are that. How do we come to that family and connect that family with the services and the supports that they need to get them back on the right path? And evidence shows that the families that have the supports after we leave are the families that are successful. We can't be in their lives forever, and so we have a responsibility to connect them and help build a community support system so that when we exit their lives, there are still people that are there if a crisis comes up. So that's really on the prevention front. And then I've talked a little bit on the placement front. And like the feds do, if they're going to fund something new, there has to be something taken away from another side. So that came on placements. But we were very excited because their placement value on our value, which is kids need to be in care. And so the placement side, there was some big changes. We have a new contract that went into effect in July for qualified residential treatment programs. I just lost this mic, so I'll just yell because I'm almost done. But really making sure that there's a continuum of placement care, because for years and years and years it was, where is there a bed? Where is there a bed? Sometimes it still is that, but we're moving away from that. Where is there a bed? How can I get this kid under the roof and not in the office tonight? But DCFS with Family First, it allowed us to really look at how we're contracting and working with providers and creating a continuum of care. So the first question should be, what is the level of care that this child needs? Do they need a foster family? Do they need community-based services for treatment? Or do they need more intense medically necessary treatment like acute or subacute residential? Or if they're developmentally disabled, do they need an additional level of care? Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that placement is easy for us yet. It is one of the most complex and stressful things that happens in foster care, is finding the right placement and getting them stable. But we are headed into a direction where it's not just, do you have a roof and can you take a child, but where are you on the spectrum of continuum of care, and how are we going to get that child into the right placement? And so Family First has allowed us to align our funding with the value that kids belong in families. If they're not in families, they need treatment. And if they get treatment, we should be either getting them to a place where we get them back with the family, or they need more intensive treatment and go to a higher level. So that's really Family First in a nutshell. Focus on placement with the family and focus on preventative evidence-based services to serve families in a home. And I am out of time, but I want to say before I leave, I am so grateful that every one of you is here today. Like, it is so encouraging to me to see a community that is interested and committed to serving our children. And I always do say families, but when we serve children, it means we serve families. So thank you all so much for what you do.